If your waiver wire feels completely picked through right now, trust me, you're not alone. We are at the point in this season where it gets harder and harder to find gems on the waiver wire, breakout prospects have been scooped up, sizzling starts have faded, and injuries are continuing to pile up for fantasy managers everywhere. But there still are a lot of impactful players available, and in this video I'm going to be going over the players that you need to add and the players that you need to avoid for fantasy baseball. Like it, hype it, bang it. I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. First up, we had another debut on Wednesday and another very impressive outing by someone the Chicago White Sox acquired in a trade last year, firing 6 perfect innings after giving up a home run on his second pitch of the outing. And that is Mr. David Sandlin. So yes, you did hear that right. He did fire 6 perfect innings after the second pitch of the ball game, J.R. Ritchie style, allowing a home run immediately. So who is David Sandlin, you might ask? He's a 25-year-old righty that was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the 11th round 4 years ago, later being traded to the Chicago White Sox in some sort of salary dump. He's posted a 0.7 ERA in 12 innings with 17 strikeouts across 4 starts in AAA this year. So what does Sandlin do with his arsenal? Well, he attacks you with a couple heaters. He has a 4-seamer and a cutter, and the secondaries consist of a changeup, curveball, and sweeper to round it up. We typically see a nice velo boost with all the adrenaline just pumping through your veins on an MLB debut, and this was no exception. His heater was up 2 to 3 ticks from his AAA lines, sitting around 98 miles per hour. It has average induced vertical break at about 16 to 17 inches with not a lot of cut, so it could be an empty velo fastball. I do want to see it in its next outing once the adrenaline wears off. His changeup is legit though. It has legitimate whiff ability, and the curveball was used against both lefties and righties. He actually didn't bust out his sweeper until the 6th inning. He kept it in his back pocket, but I do hope we see more of it going forward, as it could be a very useful put-away pitch against righties. He only struck out 4 with 7 whiffs, but he only needed 61 pitches to get through 6 innings, which is just amazing. He was incredibly efficient. I know you can't make judgments off one pitcher's first start, especially their debut where they only threw 61 pitches. It's such a very limited sample size, but his next time on the bump, he does get the same Twins squad again, which will be a real test for him, followed by Philly. And the longer that he stays on the wire, the more likely that he's just going to be scooped up by your teammates. Because when you have a 95, say 97 mile per hour fastball, a whiffable changeup, 2 other secondaries he does feel comfortable using, and the ability to throw a hard cutter for strikes, it adds up to something that could very well play at the major league level and be very useful for fantasy. So this next guy I do believe deserves a little bit more of a deep dive, even though his debut wasn't nearly as impressive as Sandlin's, as we just talked about, but there was a lot to like, and that is Mr. Gage Jump. Jump is one of the more exciting left-handed pitching prospects out there. He has a superb 96 mile per hour fastball, and we know if you're a southpaw and you can have that type of velo and pair it with a usable secondary or 2, which Jump has, in his plus slider, nice curveball, and usable splitter, he will immediately be set up for success at the MLB level. The short arm delivery that he has does help the heater. His split change does lack a little bit of movement, but his mid-80s slider is very good. If the command is there, those 2 pitches, the slider and the heater, can make him an average or above average starter immediately. At AAA this year, Jump pitched to a not so good 4.5 ERA, but he had 56 strikeouts and only 38 innings. The PCL is very hitter friendly, so I tend not to look into a pitcher's ERA that much if they're pitching there. The thing I care about is the whiffs and Ks, and Jump clearly has that. Every one of his pitches in his arsenal had over a 30% whiff rate. Jumping into his debut, no pun intended, he allowed 4 earned runs, gave up 9 hits, and walked 1 batter, and struck out 5 over 5 innings. He generated 13 whiffs, at least 1 on 4 different pitches, which is a great sign, but as you can see with this graph, the command was just absolutely everywhere. It's actually pretty rare that debuts do end up being great. I always bench pitchers in their debuts, and you guys probably should too, because it's just more likely that it's going to be a bad line for fantasy than it's going to be a good line. But overall, in a hitter's park there in Sacramento, it could have been a lot worse for Junk. I will need to see how he continues to perform against righties. He dominated the left side in the minors, holding to a $118 average, but righties spanked his ass, nearly hitting 300 off him. And we just know MLB teams are going to adjust their lineups accordingly to punish Jump at every opportunity that they can. So pitching half his games in the friendly hitter confines of Sacramento, Jump does profile as a very high risk, very high reward type pitcher who could push starting pitcher 2-3 upside if he can limit his damage from the righties and home in his control issues. We always chase upside, so you know I'm going to send it, but I do understand this could end up looking very ugly in 2 to 3 weeks if he can't control it. Okay, next up for our prospect to stash, the calls keep getting louder and louder as spots are opening up for him. Demotions have happened and a couple old vets are doing nothing but really just biding their time until the Minnesota Twins deem that Kalen Culpepper is ready to make his debut. So yes, Culpepper is a bunch of people's favorite prospect to stash right now. They've been wanting to see him get called up over the last few weeks, and rightfully so. They moved Brooks Lee from shortstop to third base. Royce Lewis got demoted, even though he has been hitting pretty decently down there. And Arcia is nothing more than a short-term option there, just biding time until they deem Culpepper is ready and they hand the reins over to him there at the shortstop position. The 23-year-old is batting .246 with 11 home runs and 11 stolen bases and an .811 OPS, striking out 19% of the time. His exit velocity numbers are great. He has a 51.4% hard hit percentage, which is top tier, and he can spray the ball all over the ballpark. He is just demolishing fastballs with an expected slugging percentage of .542. Culpepper is struggling with the off-speed offerings, as a lot of young guys tend to do, so there will be an adjustment period when he gets to the MLB, because MLB pitchers are just better equipped to attack your weaknesses and expose them than minor league pitchers are. Some minor league pitchers just simply cannot do it. You know how it goes. Where there is power and where there is speed, fantasy managers just have to take notice. And I do hope we get to see Culpepper soon, and he would immediately be a 12-team league ad the second the call-up is announced. All right, we're going to do a prospect to stash 2.0. So the weeks keep going by, and the kid just keeps on raking and raking in AAA with a batting average over 350, which is so rare because if you're batting over 350 in AAA, you're just getting called up to the majors. So I think his time is very soon, and that's going to be Mr. Cole Carrick from the Colorado Rockies. So yeah, Carrick simply has just been crushing minor league pitching, sporting a .965 OPS with 5 home runs, 37 RBI, and most impressively, 27 swipes. So the kid does have speed. The kid has wheels, and he's in the 99th percentile for speed. Combine that with a low strikeout rate, great contact, and solid plate discipline, he has the trifecta needed to allow his wheels to work at the MLB level. I think he could be some sort of speed demon. I'm very intrigued to see how Carrick adjusts, how he adapts to major league pitching. I think he honestly might be a doubles machine, hitting in the friendly hitter confines of Coors Field without being a total slouch for power either. I do think he does have the ability to pop for some home runs. He can handle every offering from the fastball to off speed. I don't think he has much left to prove against minor league pitching, so I don't think it'll be too long until he gets his major league shot. I believe it's just a matter of time before the Rockies give him that call, and he's currently splitting his starts between center field and shortstop. He could practically fill any position on the diamond, and it's not like the Rockies are absolutely juiced, absolutely yoked 1 through 9. There is a spot for him when they deem him ready. I do think Carrick's floor is a lot safer than Culpepper's. We do see a lot of these hitting profiles like Carrick has in Coors Field just be tremendously valuable for fantasy over the summer months. Balls fly out of there in the Mile High City, and I'm excited for when Carrick gets his shot sometime in the near future. Okay, and for this last guy here, who doesn't love post-hype sleepers? You know I do. I get my tits all juiced up about it. It's a former #1 overall pick who's still 22 years old, heading into his 3rd MLB season. That is Mr. Jackson Holliday from the Baltimore Orioles. So returning to the field about a week ago to make his season debut after missing most of the first 2 months with that fractured bone in his hand, Holliday has hit the ground running, literally. He already has 2 swipes. He's launched a home run in just 7 games. The sample size obviously is just too small to really dive deep into anything, but it looks like he's making an effort to pull the ball in the air more, which we know we love, we get excited about. He's chasing a lot less, which is good. Hopefully understanding understanding now how pitchers want to attack him and expose his weaknesses. And his exit velocity is up. He's hitting a lot of balls hard, around 100 miles per hour, even if they aren't necessarily going for hits. That is a good sign of positive things to potentially come. Looking at Holiday year over year, he did make improvements from his rookie season to last year, and I think he's going to do the same thing in 2026. I think he probably would have been ranked as a top 12 second baseman if you were healthy heading into the campaign. So it's more than worth taking a chance on him if he's still floating around on your wire for some reason in 12-team leagues. Especially if you're just ready for a change at a gross second base position again this year in fantasy. All right, you saw that intro, that transition, absolutely crazy. Holy, what an editor I am, right? This fantasy baseball channel. Pfft. But jokes aside, though, this is the section where I'm going to go over additional 5 pitchers and additional 5 hitters who have been added a lot lately leading up to this video. And I'm going to say whether I'd add them or not. Okay, so first up for the pitchers, we got Reed Detmers. Now, obviously, a 14 strikeout game gets everyone's attention. The one thing I want to point out with him, though, is when he gets his slider control and feel, starts like this just are possible. When he doesn't, starts like his 8 earned runs in his previous outing are on the table. You're clearly starting him against Tampa Bay. And if he's available in your league somehow, you need to go at him, you need to go chase him and just see where this goes. But just know the floor could literally fall out at any moment. Detmers is, however, someone that I'm looking to add, already added, or buying everywhere. Go get him. Next up, we had Steven Spielberg, Steven Kolek. Now, a complete game shutout is no fluke by any means. An impressive feat, even if it was against my Seattle Mariners. And I don't want to take anything away from him at all, but he returned 22 of 26 balls in play as outs. To his credit, most of those were weak contact, but it's a very fortunate outing as he only had 7 whiffs and 2 strikeouts. His BABIP is currently a $187, which just isn't sustainable. His low whiff and K percentage, nothing exceptional in his arsenal, and his expected FIP is 4.03. I think he will have a decent shot at like a poor man's quality start each outing, like which would be like going 6 innings but allowing 3 earned runs and probably minimal strikeouts. But regardless, I think there's just very limited little upside worth chasing here, and I'd rather look elsewhere. Next up, we have Kaiwei Tang, and he's delivered 2 quality, if not stellar, outings in a row. Now, we've seen a rise in Tang's roster rate over the last week, but I'm just not buying in. I do think you're likely to get around a strikeout per inning, but a very high walk rate and somebody who doesn't really limit hard contact all that well. His sweeper is his go-to where he'll willingly throw it over the heart of the plate, and with a fastball that hitters really don't fear, have nothing to fear, there are just going to be some blowups in the very near future. And Nick Pollock from Pitcher List has had a great comparison that made me chuckle. He's peak McCullers at his best and current McCullers at his worst. And this one was a little surprising. I thought he's more universally owned, but it's going to be Kennelly Early from the Boston Red Sox. Now, he's spun 2 gems in a row now, with his latest coming off against the hottest team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves. Dating back 4 starts now, if we look at it, he has 26 Ks in 25.1 innings with 3 quality starts mixed in. It's not all sunshine and roses, though, as his expected ERA is 4.6 and his expected FIP is 4.13. Quite different than his actuals, but he has a wide arsenal of sinkers, 4-seamers, changeups, and curveballs to righties, and then the heater and sweeper for lefties. The velo is okay, but Early makes up for that with solid extension, and he's just somebody that I continue, or at least expect to continue to improve over the summer months. I think he has a very stable floor for 12-team leagues, and the upside to produce starting pitcher 2 outings like we've seen, and I just think he should be more than 50% rostered. And last up, we got the double cheeseburger with the side of fries and a Big Mac, Trevor McDonald. Now, we talked about him last week. If he sticks in the rotation going forward, I don't know if he's going to get sent down or what's going on over the bullpen or whatever when Logan Webb is going to get activated this weekend. But if he's going to stick in the rotation, I can really honestly see him being in the main waiver wire section next video. He has close to a 20% strikeout minus walk rate, is what you want, right where you want to be a successful starter for fantasy. He's producing ground balls at about a 60% clip. He's not walking anyone. He's limiting hard contact and has a league average whiff and K rates. He has a 3-pitch mix, but he's getting results minus that gross blow up pop-up game that he did have last outing, and he's someone I'm definitely keeping an eye on for 12 league teams, and I think he's somebody that you should too. All right, on to the hitters, on to the batters. First up, we had Spencer Horwitz. Now, it's actually kind of close to including Horwitz in the main waiver wire section, but I think he's still just a little too far away for having a ton of relevance for category leagues. He's definitely a preferred ad for points league because he's always just been a guy with outstanding discipline, plate discipline, who puts the bat on the baseball and has shown the ability to hit around double-digit home runs. It is a profile that can feel very empty, though, if you're just looking at it, is if he isn't producing counting stats, runs or RBIs, because the power isn't going to be overwhelming. For points league, he's solid. Well, he's producing at the top of the lineup, at the top of the order. For categories outside of deeper leagues, you can hold off now unless you're desperate for OBP or hits. Until we start seeing some more consistent power or consistent counting stats, I don't think he's going to be that useful outside of deeper leagues for you category guys. Okay, next up we had Bruce Lee. Now, we talked about Bruce Lee a little while back, and I hinted a massive cold streak was probably on the horizon. That's kind of what happened with him, because everything under the hood just screams massive regression or an unsustainable hitting profile. And nothing has really changed since then in that regard. He's getting a roster rate jump right now because he's put together a few impressive games, a few good games. This is still just a very empty, extremely low floor profile, and I would way rather chase more unknown but higher upside guys than this in 12-team leagues. And we'll keep going with Curtis Mead. Now, he's another guy who actually was close to the main waiver wire section this week, and if he keeps hitting over the weekend and into the week, he will be in the next video. The profile is looking very intriguing now that he's potentially moving into a full-time role for the Nats, as he's mainly been used in the short side of a platoon with Luis Garcia this season. The demotion of House has opened up a spot, and Mead looks like the preferred option right now at the hot corner. The plate discipline is elite. He's barreling a ton of baseballs with a 45.4% hard hit percentage. He's pulling the ball in the air at an awesome clip at 22.7%, and all his expected stats are higher than his actuals, rocking an expected WOBA of 374. It wasn't that long ago really that he was considered like a top 100 prospect, and at only 25 years young, there is certainly potential for improvement, and he should be added in deeper leagues. And then next up we have Chase Mydroff. Now, another points league specialist. He doesn't chase, doesn't whiff, solid walk rates, puts the bat on the baseball. He's won 8 for 27 in the last week with 2 home runs and 7 RBI. There is never going to be a lot of power in his profile. That's just not who he is, but I could end up seeing him with double-digit home runs or close to it by season's end. Mydroff is just another floor type profile in my eyes, though. He has limited upside, being a little bit lucky with a 340 BABIP, and all his expected stats are worse than his actuals. I don't mind him as a bench piece by any means for points leagues. I definitely favor him more in points league than category leagues, but he does have second base, third base, and shortstop eligibility. I don't think he's at the point yet where he just needs to be rostered everywhere in 12-team leagues. Okay, last but not least, last player up, Anthony Volpe. So at 25 years old, in his 4th season, this kind of feels like his last chance to prove that he can hit enough to be a regular player at the MLB level. I don't know how much that Yankees hype and pressure messed with his trajectory, but he's put together a few good performances at the dish lately. He's making an effort to put the ball in the air, and we have seen some subtle improvements in his chase and K rates, even if it's still is an extremely limited sample size. There are worse starts to throw out there. I don't know if I do it, but maybe keep your eye on them. All right, in recap time, boys. Every week, I'll recap my prior waiver wire videos, see how those guys did, see how they performed, and see if a punishment's justified. If I just completely f***ed you over and they had a terrible week. So we're recapping my waiver wire video from May 23rd. So first up, we had Bryce Miller. Now, the piggyback situation reversed kind of last minute with Castillo, which was strange. Miller's stuff just looks so good, so much better. The Mariners will figure it out. He's still an add and hold everywhere. He's starting to look like that 2024 version of himself. Then we had Troy Melton, who did impress in his debut, striking out 3 over 5.2 innings. He topped out at 98.7 miles per hour, racked up 7 whiffs, only allowing 1 earned run. Add him everywhere in 12s. And then we had Thomas White. Nothing has really changed. It doesn't seem to be an serious injury by any means. The team doesn't seem concerned. Still a nice stash because he has an open spot ready whenever he's healthy. And then we had Walbert Urena. Now he continues to go at least 5 innings, but the walks are still very concerning. He had 16 whiffs last outing though. The sweeper looks great. I'm still in. The upside is still there. And then Colt Emerson, who just doesn't look overmatched at all. Once he starts running, it will elevate his game even more. He has to be owned everywhere. And then Dylan Cruz, at least he's hitting, not much else, but his whiffs and Ks are down, which is positive. I still think he's like a soft hold for 12s. But if we add all that up, all those players, Punch that in the calculator, baby. There is no way there's a punishment. We're on a roll here, boys. All right, but that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys liking, hyping. Make sure to sub if you haven't subbed. I'll be doing a waiver wire video every week for the rest of the year. My energy did feel a little down this video, so hopefully it turns out well after I go put in all the clips, put in all the editing. Again, shoot me a comment. I'll try to reply to every single one, every video. It's my favorite part. I'm always going to do it for free too. Fuck all those other guys, right? But honestly, whatever, to each their own. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, weekday, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys real soon.